Hello everyone, in today's discussion we are going to have a beautiful interaction on the concept irrotational vector field. So in the previous lecture I was discussing about the vector calculus, where vectors are nothing but they are quantities which have magnitude in direction. So the field which carries such conditions are called vector field. So in vector field we have various different concepts. In that, one of the important concept is irrotational vector field. So in irrotational vector field we can see various applications that is more useful when it comes to engineering. So in engineering, vector calculus plays a very important role. So in that irrotational vector, that is an irrotational vector in vector field, that is in vector calculus, is a vector field where the curl is equal to 0. We saw in the previous discussion we were talking about divergence. Divergence and the next important concept called curl are very important when it comes to vector calculus. So in today's discussion we are into curl. It is another important concept similar to divergence. So as the irrotational concept is connected with curl, we discuss like the irrotational vector in vector calculus is a vector field where the curl is equal to 0. That is, when the curl becomes 0, this means that the vector field does not exhibit any rotational behavior. This is again more important to discuss when it comes to fluid dynamics, where we discuss about the fluid flow. So in order to understand the irrotational scenario, in order to understand whether the rotational behavior happens or not, we come under the concept, we work under the concept of irrotational vectors. So there are certain properties for irrotational vectors. That is, properties of irrotational vectors are conservation of energy. Irrotational vectors represent consecutive, that is, we can understand the various vector field structures. That is, irrotational vectors represent conservative field vector fields which conserve energy in physical systems and path independence. We can use integration as a tool. That is, line integrals of irrotational vectors are independent of the path taken between expansions in the vector field. Then the next one is relationship to gradient. Irrotational vectors are related to the gradients of vector fields and exhibit unique divergence properties. These are some very important properties of irrotational vectors which are most beneficial when it comes to engineering, especially in mechanical engineering. These are very important. Certain examples of irrotational vectors, that is, fluid motion, water flowing in a river or stream without rotation is an example of an irrotational vector. Wind patterns, non-rotating wind patterns in the atmosphere exhibit irrotational vector characteristics. Magnetic fields is another example, that is, smooth and rotation free magnetic fields are examples of irrotational vectors in the physical concepts. The next important idea is, as we discussed in divergence, even in the concept of curl, we can use the idea of visualization. In visualization we can picturize the what I could say is, we can picturize the irrotational effects. Yeah, that I could very well say that irrotational effects in 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional fields. That is, in 2-dimensional vector field I can visualize the representation of irregular vector field, and also that is in planes, two-dimensional planes, and also in 3D vector field. I can illustrate the visualization in a three-dimensional space, and also in fluid visualization I can work with fluid concepts, where I can image an image predicting the fluid pattern, flow pattern of an irrotational vector can be visualized, which with no rotational concepts. So these are some visualization effects that we could work with when we are in irrotational field discussion, and also there are various other visualization concepts also. I am mentioning certain standard areas where in this irrotational area we have the concept of gradient. Gradient is again a concept of differential calculus idea, that is from the mathematical background, which is very important when we talk about this curl, divergence, all those stuffs.